Welcome to the ISAT Weekly Update. I'm Matt, aka The Parable.
And I'm James, aka Patriots_Rising 17.
And today we're going to attack one of the topics that's still going through the school systems and everybody's concerned about. Well, it's come back up again, and that is critical race theory. Let's take a look at the first slide. Indiana STEM administrator, when we tell you CRT isn't taught in our schools, we are lying. So there you have it, right out of the mouth. They basically are saying that it is part of the school curriculum. Not in the sense of teaching it itself, but they're teaching it through other subjects. They're teaching it through math, they're teaching it through English, they're teaching it through history, and everything else. And so there it is.
Yeah, so it's not about, there's not a subject called critical race theory. It's an ideology, right? And that's what I think it's important for people to be aware of, is that it's not about this title, because that's what the left likes to do, is when something backfires on them, they just switch the language around and pretend it never existed. It's more about what they're talking about, and what they're talking about is teaching kids to think of one another based on the color of their skin, and that's not what I don't think anybody wants, right? Which is why there's been such a huge uprising.
And the term itself, critical race theory, is also it's put throughout the schools with different terminology, inclusion, and what else?
I don't remember what else.
I don't remember. What was the other word? Equity.
Equity, yeah.
So yeah, besides critical race theory, you have equity, you have inclusion, and when you see those terms put into what the administration is trying to put in through curriculum, you know that the basic fundamental point behind it is critical race theory. What's another term for critical race theory? Critical what?
Racism theory.
Yeah, there you go. Critical racism.
So equity, the definition of equity used to be essentially the same thing as the definition of equality, and that changed as part of this. I don't want to call it necessarily. Critical race theory is like the brand that they named it as part of it, but the difference between equality and equity was that equity is like making it equal for everybody based on their needs, whereas equality is like everybody just gets an equality is like socialism, and equity is like
it's a Marxist doctrine.
Yeah,
you can't.
right.
It doesn't matter how you spin it. It's a Marxist doctrine.
And I think the point is that like that's not wrong, but what's our starting point, right? And I think like in my mind the starting point is like we're playing a game. We're playing somebody else's game by somebody else's rules, and why don't we just blow it all up and just not play the game? Whereas like equity, the mindset of that is that, hey, let's all start from this same point and push everybody backwards so that everybody's like a slave to this thing, right? And I think my mindset is like, no, let's just push everybody forwards to the finish line, and then let's just make up our own game.
And so we have one more slide. I want this gentleman here, who's the one who basically he put on a Facebook video on his channel, Tony Kinnett, and it's a science, technology, engineering, and math (STEM) educator and administrator in the largest school district in Indiana. Addressed parents in a video in which he asserted that school officials say they are not teaching critical race theory, CRT. We're lying. So, as an administrator, the largest school district, and actually the tweet itself, it is a tweet, I'm sorry, it wasn't Facebook. As the administrator of the largest school district in Indiana, here's what we mean when we tell you that we aren't teaching critical race theory. So if you go into Twitter, try to find that, and you can go through the video and listen to it. It pretty much explains what we're talking about here, which is they're basically seeping critical race theory into different subjects. They're not talking about it directly, but they're blaming everything on white privilege, white uh, actually everything dealing with problems in society on white people.
Well, the race doesn't matter. The point is that they're trying to indoctrinate
Right.
based on things that don't matter, right?
Right.
And that's the whole point that
Yeah,
we're
it's,
trying to make.
it's not education, it's indoctrination, and this is their method of doing it. They want to divide, they don't want to unite, and through division, they're trying to stay alive in a sense to keep the communist ideals running. And that's pretty much it. So check that tweet out, and have a great evening.
Had a rough week? Current events got you down? Join us Friday at 8 p.m. Come on, man. Check us out.